He's the former president and publisher of the Sun Herald, and now he's on the radio. Welcome to Coast View with Ricky Matthews on SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1.
Welcome to Coast View, the show that celebrates the men and women who are making coastal Mississippi such a great place to live, work, and play. We have a terrific show today, but before we get into that, let me move over to Kyle for just a second and say, first of all, Kyle, the last couple of shows, Laura Hasty and Butch Osterlund, really inspiring stories. Didn't you see that as well?
Yeah, it was a lot of back history that I've never heard before, and that's kind of saying something for somebody that's lived here all my life and has actually worked in media since, 94, 93. So, yeah, it's interesting.
Well, that's what this show's about. It's about getting to know the person behind the public face, getting to know them deeper and, just hearing their stories. Butch ending the conversation yesterday with the discussion of his brother Freddie, who recently passed away. It was very special. The legacy of his parents and their commitment to the community, just a terrific conversation. And buddy, you're getting ready for a Saints game. Tell me about the prep work for that.
Oh, prep work is usually the same about this time, 3-4 days out before a game. It's a lot of cramming. It's kind of like college waiting for finals week, and you think you have enough music ready to go, and then you look at it and go, no, I don't have enough music. Then you go look for music, and it's like much of this is just crazy. It's typical, it's the pressure that I put on myself, but, it's all good pressure.
Well, for people who don't remember this, Kyle Curley, the producer for this show, he's in technologies, does voice on multiple radio stations. He produces this show. He's literally a jack of all trades. And one of his many claims to fame is he plays the music at the Superdome during the Saints games. And he told me something the other day I didn't know. It was in the conversation we were having with Jeff Duncan, who has covered the Saints longer than any human being on earth and a regular on the show. And that is that they're piping music into the Superdome. That's going to be an interesting experience, isn't it?
Yeah, you've kind of seen it with Major League Baseball and the NBA and hockey. And it's, there's two different piped in crowd noises. There's one for the arena that has a certain less decibel level. You can't pass 70 dB for the crowd noise, and then music and voice can't be over 75. And then there's a separate person that the NFL assigns for the TV broadcast that's catered to each venue, to each stadium. And it's honestly, you watch a game without crowd noise, it is really kind of boring. And once you get past, it's fake crowd noise, you get halfway through a game and you're like, oh, well, it seems real. So, it's just one of those pleasant things to the ear that you don't know how boring it is to watch something sometimes when there's pieces of it taken away. So it's part of the game day experience that, it's necessary, really.
Yeah, Troy Aikman, I saw a great interview with him this morning. He talked about how he and Joe Buck, it's going to be different. They don't have the people surrounding them in the booth like they normally do. But he said that it's important, actually. It helps them call the game when the crowd noise crescendos with the moments in the game. It helps them call the game. You don't realize how all these dots connect, but so interesting.
No, but, people are a creature of habit. When you're used to calling games for 30 years with crowd noise kind of helping feed the energy, and then all of a sudden it's gone, then you have a lot of announcers just kind of talking monotone, and it really kind of slows down.
So I look forward to talking to you next week, and we can hear firsthand from you. What was it like to be at the first game without fans?
It's going to be interesting.
We can't wait to learn more. Hey, let's bring Adele Lyons in. Adele is the Chief Executive Officer for the Mississippi Gulf Coast Chamber of Commerce and a regular on the show, just someone who really has a good handle on what's happening in the business community. Before we move to Adele, let's just talk for just a second about there's been a lull in the hurricane season. If anyone pays attention to the tropics, you'll see there's a couple little yellow shaded areas in the Gulf. don't expect anything big. But heck, you don't know what's going to happen this time of year. Anything can become big. We've got a bunch of storms out there. Most of them are going to be what they call out-to-sea storms. There might be one that could potentially get in the Gulf. Anyway, we don't know. We don't know how all of this is going to play out. What we do know is what we've been saying on this show from the beginning. Don't wait until a hurricane is bearing down on you before you prepare. That's really important, isn't it, Adele?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, this morning my neighbor had a tree service out. He has one of his trees had some dead limbs in it, and he had tree service out. And part of the reason was because he's seen all this activity. And, if you can get that kind of stuff taken care of in advance, if you can get some of those canned supplies, the things that are non-perishable, if you can get your bottled water, if you can get your pet food, that's all you're going to need it sooner or later. And have that, just avoid the mayhem when everybody else is trying to run out to the store. It just makes life easier on the front end, and certainly you hope on the back end as well, because you were prepared.
One of the things that Kyle has really pressed hard on, and it's already happened, because we had Marco and Laura that were close calls. And, we had very little impact here in coastal Mississippi from either one of those. He's concerned that what will happen is that people will get a little bit, thinking that the next one's not going to hit us. And then when you add COVID into it, it makes it even more complicated. But that's what you said, isn't it, Kyle? You can't take everyone individually and give your spiel.
You have to take it with, every bit of seriousness that it deserves, because these things are so difficult to figure out where they're going. I mean, just look at Marco and Laura from when they first started putting tracks out to where they finally come in agreement within the last 4 or 5 days. Like the 10-day stretch they had them going to different sides of Louisiana. And then, so you really have to just take it, get prepared. And if you're going to have to go to a shelter, be prepared to go to a shelter, get your mask, get everything together, and just do it. Don't ride it out because you're thinking it's going to jog left or right and miss us.
Yeah, we're going to have Jamie Bates on next week. Jamie is a consummate volunteer. He's been over in the Louisiana area serving barbecue and food to first responders. We'll have him on next week. But we already know that one of the stories coming out of that area is that some people stayed at home when they should have evacuated because they were concerned about COVID or whatever the situation was, whatever was, entering into their decision. But the reality was some did not leave who should have. And the death toll there is greater than it should be. And we don't want that to happen in coastal Mississippi. So pay attention, have your plan. Don't make it a last-minute decision, but know where you're going, know exactly what you're going to be doing, and you'll be glad you thought that way. Hopefully we don't have to deal with it. That's my prayer is no more. Come on, cool weather, push them away, and let's get on to the fall. So Enjoy some football. Y'all agree?
Yes.
Absolutely.
So thanks, Kyle. Appreciate it. So let's, Adele, let's move to you. And, it's interesting because you and I have been having these conversations for almost 7 months now. It is interesting the way you find your new normal, isn't it?
Yeah, I mentioned to you earlier, I found, I think like most people, you'd get out the car, or, early on you were going some, of course, at first we were all really just staying home. And then when it opened up a little bit more, you could get out. You get out the car and you'd be halfway across the parking lot and go, oh, I forgot the mask. And you'd have to go back and get it. I find now that it's becoming a habit to grab it and go. As soon as you get out the car, I find I get back in the car and I'm halfway down the road and I realize it's still on because it's becoming more comfortable. At first, the minute you got in a safe space, you were pulling that mask off because it just wasn't something you were used to. So it's just interesting how habits form and become the norm, which I guess is a good thing. It's not quite as, you don't have to think about it. And that's a good thing, that it's becoming more of the norm for us.
It's sort of like after Katrina. We found our new normal then. You just kind of, we're resilient, aren't we?
Yeah, like I said, I just remember driving down the road and thinking, gosh, all this debris, I wish all this debris was gone. A couple of weeks later, you're driving down the road, you didn't even notice it was there anymore. And then you didn't even hardly notice when it was gone. It just had become part of the landscape. And of course, it was very nice when it was all gone. But that's what humans do. We adapt.
We definitely do adapt. Hey, you just came up with a great new sort of slogan. Make it a habit to grab it. Talking about the mask. Make it a habit to grab it. But, the same tools are there, practicing social distancing, wearing your mask, protecting the vulnerable, washing your hands. We've all learned to do those things. And the numbers are really showing it now. We're beginning to see that, we've certainly peaked out and the numbers are coming down. And the reason why is because people are really paying attention. You see it in all of your work, don't you?
Yeah, certainly we have adapted. We're still doing virtual events at the chamber. We've done over 55 virtual events since this all started. We're doing virtual ribbon cuttings, which at first really kind of upset me because people love, and we at the chamber love ribbon cuttings because that says it's a new business, it's a grand opening, it's a renovation, it's something showing business growth. And it was, it's always just a great day for a ribbon cutting. And I thought, people aren't going to have their friends and family there. But we're finding doing that Facebook Live, people are jumping on. And people, it gives them great exposure. And we do a little walk around and they get a tour. And it's really working out pretty well. And people are adapting, again, using that same word, adapting to that as the new normal. Hopefully someday we can go back to that ribbon cutting where we've got piles of people there and everybody at a business, but for now, this is working.
So, Adele, talked to several chamber leaders about this along the way, but there's really never been a more compelling time to be a member of the chamber. And that is that you have this opportunity to connect with other businesses, to see what they're going through, to sort of learn from their experiences, how they're dealing with the task at hand, in this case, COVID. This is a great opportunity to be a member of a chamber. So why don't we do this? When we come back from the break, I want to start kind of breaking it all down. What's the latest on the unemployment benefit issues that have been faced, liability protection on business? There's really a lot to talk about. So we come back from the break with Adele Lyons, the CEO of the Mississippi Gulf Coast Chamber of Commerce. We'll break it all down. See you in a second.
Follow SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1 on Facebook. Facebook.com/SuperTalk MS Coast 103.1.
Hey, want to come work for the #1 radio group on the coast? TeleSouth Media has a great opportunity for an outside sales consultant. Get paid while having fun and work in the exciting, fast-paced world of radio. We have award-winning stations like 97.9 CPR Rocks, 105.9 The Monkey, G96.7, SuperTalk 103.1, and 103.5 The Possum. Take the first step towards a new and rewarding career. Submit your resume to Jesse@telesouth.com. That's JESSE at telesouth.com. TeleSouth Media is an equal employment opportunity employer.
SuperTalk. Nobody keeps Mississippi informed like we do. With 12 stations covering all 82 counties. If it happens in your state, we're on top of it. The news, the weather, the sports, and the talk that's important to you. The issues that matter to you, your family, and your bank account. It's all right here. And when you're away from home, depend on the SuperTalk app and supertalk.fm to stay in the know. We're proud to serve our fellow Mississippians. SuperTalk Mississippi.
You've been diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. You have to carefully monitor your health for the rest of your life. And you have an increased risk of developing cardiovascular disease.
Cut.
Type 2, take 2.
Action.
You've been diagnosed with a new purpose, to fight for the amazing life you made for yourself, to look that risk of heart disease square in the face and say, no, not me. You've been given a new opportunity to live. Get started at NoDiabetesByHeart.org.
Whether you're a Rebel, a Bulldog, a Golden Eagle, or just a sports fan, SuperTalk Mississippi has got a podcast for you. For you. Sports Talk Mississippi, The Rebel Report, Thunder and Lightning, the SuperTalk Eagle Hour, and The Borky Show are all now available for you. And it's all free. Get them all on demand at supertalk.fm and on your smartphone. Just search for SuperTalk on iTunes, Google Play, or anywhere you listen to podcasts. talking to the people that help make the coast such a unique place to live. This is Coast View with Ricky Matthews on SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1.
Welcome back to Coast View. We have Adele Lyons, the CEO of the Mississippi Gulf Coast Chamber of Commerce. And Adele, before we went to the break, we were talking about there are compelling reasons to be a member of the Chamber today. I look back at my career, I was always active in the Chamber throughout my entire career. There was always so much to gain in leadership training and the opportunities to be able to network and be able to give back to the community in so many different ways. We just always believed that was an important part of what we do. But in a situation like in the COVID environment, with all these different, programs and regulations and the experience of dealing with customers and how to do that well, the networking and the opportunity for the Chamber to sort of be in a clearinghouse for information is incredibly important. I think you're seeing that in the new members that are coming on board.
Yeah, we have certainly seen new members join. It's been very active lately. We've had 9 new members join in September, and we're only, just early on with that many days in the month nearly that have passed. We're seeing that also last month in August. And really, the only time we saw a little bit of a lag was right there in probably the April and May timeframe, where this was so new, people just didn't know.
Right.
And the CARES Act was just getting passed, and people were trying to figure out, am I going to be able to have some access to financial resources or grants for my business? I think everybody just kind of stopped and froze for a minute, trying to just figure out the uncertainty. But since then, it's really picked back up. We've done just as many programs as we could and really tried to tackle the big issues, the CARES Act, PPP, loan program, because there's so many pieces and parts to that, and it gets very legislative based, and that's not something you normally read or want to read. So luckily, we were able to get some folks from Washington, D.C. through the U.S. Chamber to give presentations on that and really help people walk step by step so they can understand. We've repeated those over and over. We've had a program about insurance and what new types of insurance or coverage should you have due to COVID. How to market yourself when it's a virtual world. That's different. And so it's really been a ton of different programs. And then there's always just the basic stuff, the speed networking event that people love. The just connecting and having those after hours type events virtually have been kind of fun and cool, where everybody's just on and chatting amongst yourselves just to keep up. You still have to have that sense of belonging and that sense of connection. And the Chamber really brings that to everyone.
Tell us about the company that owns SuperTalk had a job fair. They put it together in like a 2-week period. It was held at the mall so the companies could be spread out. Nearly 50 companies were involved. Over 1,000 people came. That was such a positive thing. I think what we've seen is that while some companies might have contracted for various reasons related to COVID, others might have been expanding. So you're seeing a shuffling of jobs in the market. But if anyone thinks there's not opportunities, they're wrong, aren't they?
Yeah, there's a lot of employment opportunities, a lot of sort of changes. If you want to move from one industry to the other, I think now is the time to look at and see what's out there. It is a little bit different world as far as interviews and, doing it via Zoom, but I think that's something you're going to see more and more anyway, because it's just easy and quick and you can still have that interaction. There's so many places that you can look for jobs via some of the employment services. We've also had Amber Olson with Next Staff, who's one of our chamber members, talk about how to interview online and give people tips. And then, of course, there's the Win Job Center. There's so many places, and people really should be looking to see what's out there today that's totally, different than pre-COVID.
Are you still concerned that the unemployment rider that the federal government put out there is in some ways maybe incenting some employees not to return to work?
Yeah, we are seeing that. Some people are having a tough time filling some jobs because some people are finding that, with a lower wage, they take home the same pay, and it's just not an incentive for them to go back. This new legislation that the Senate, I think in D.C. is going to look at today, lowers that rate. It was $600, that additional amount. It brings it down to $300. And so I think that may certainly bring a change. Still helping folks who need it, but encouraging folks to get back to work.
So what's the latest on the Paycheck Protection Program?
Well, like I said, the Senate, it's called Delivering Impact. Let's see, what was the name of the act? Delivering Immediate Relief Act is the one that's being looked at the Senate today, which they're calling the skinny version of the HEALS Act, which we saw a couple of weeks ago come out. And so where they would continue with some of the PPP loans that would be available and the forgiveness, of course, that has to pass the Senate and the House. So that might be something we need to touch back on later when we see it pass. And of course, Ashley Edwards is the go-to guy on legislation. He knows it backwards and forwards. But it does look positive that something may come out of this. The main thing from a business standpoint that we've been concerned about, that the U.S. Chamber's really been pushing for, is that liability issue, to safe to work. That if I go to work, I open my business back up, that if I'm taking all the proper channels, all the proper protections to make you, my customers, and my staff as safe as I can, that I have some liability protection and that I can't be sued for that. That's something that's really a concern for small businesses, because you have to defend yourself if you're sued. And that's expensive, whether you were in the wrong or negligent or not. It's very expensive to defend yourself. And for a small business, that could really put them under pretty quickly. So hopefully that'll get passed.
So what are you hearing from your members these days? How's business?
Well, most folks, the main thing I hear is employees, getting people back to work, trying to find employees. And of course, we're so heavy in the hospitality and tourism industry that they're really looking for folks to work in those hotels, those restaurants. And those are tough jobs to fill pre-COVID, and there really seem to be tough jobs to fill now. People are seeing folks come in from outside the area. We're seeing customers back out shopping. Online shopping had become huge, and I think will remain huge. But those small businesses now, you can go in, they do curbside pickup. They pivoted as well. So things are looking pretty good for most folks.
One of the things that I've been most impressed with in my conversations with Milton Segura, with Linda Hornsby, with Craig Ray, with just leaders across the coast, the amount of alignment that has been around tourism, the drive-in market, creating a safe vacation, and all that. I mean, it's been incredible to watch that. And as a result of that, the casino numbers are good. While the revenue per room is down some, but the fact is the vacancies are not what they expected. The recovery for the Hotel and Lodging Association has been terrific. We had the opening of the aquarium, the Mississippi Aquarium, which I had the pleasure of doing a live remote there for SuperTalk. But man, the alignment of our tourism leaders has been something to behold, hasn't it?
Yeah, they've really. I think I know I was concerned. I thought, gosh, here it is, another summer where tourism is going to take a hit. With the oil spill, with Bonnie Carey Spillway, I thought, here's another summer. But people, we heard early on, our phone was ringing off the hook. Can I go to the beach? What's open? What can we come over and do? And this is people from, Birmingham, Baton Rouge, Nashville, that just wanted to get out of town and go somewhere. And they wanted to drive in. They were not wanting to get on an airplane. And so that happened. And that was a great thing to happen. What I think is going to be interesting to watch is, kind of what happens with football season. So many people travel on weekends going to college football games. And of course, that's a limited capacity now. So what do those people do? Do they stay home and watch games? Or do they take a little weekend and you can still watch the game on TV wherever you are, or stream it or whatever? So I'm wondering if this will extend our tourism season, because we do have such a nice You can still be in the pool and you can still be at the beach in October.
Right.
Here,
and the fishing's fantastic.
Right, golf, etc. So if people don't have, if you're not driving to Oxford or, wherever, Alabama, Tuscaloosa for these football games because you can't go, are you doing something else? Let's see what happens.
Hey, that's actually a really good point. And I know that the tourism dollars are being really targeted in a way that really encouraged the drive-in market. And as we've talked about on the show before COVID, 80% of the people who visited here came here in a car. We're hoping we can drive that number up because people feel safe in their car. But that's an opportunity to do a staycation and really kind of take it all in, isn't it?
Well, and don't forget, we do have sports betting. And so, maybe that drives some folks in that are sports fans that can't go to the venue, that could watch it here, and they could place a wager. Let's see what happens on that.
Adele, thank you so much for your leadership. This is Adele Lyons, the CEO of the Mississippi Gulf Coast Chamber of Commerce, but she has just been an incredible leader in coastal Mississippi for many years in many different roles. And she always hits it out of the park in whatever role she's in. It's been a pleasure to catch up with you. We'll see you again in a few weeks.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Ricky. Okay. Thanks, Kyle.
You bet. Have a great day, and we'll see you after this break.
Hey, want to come work for the #1 radio group on the coast? TeleSouth Media has a great opportunity for an outside sales consultant. Get paid while having fun and work in the exciting, fast-paced world of radio. We have award-winning stations like 97.9 CPR Rocks, 105.9 The Monkey, G96.7, SuperTalk 103.1, and 103.5 The Possum. Take the first step towards a new and rewarding career. Submit your resume to Jesse@telesouth.com. That's JESSE@telesouth.com. TeleSouth Media is an equal employment opportunity employer.
The Dean's List with Janice Dean.
A compassionate young man who became a dinner companion for a stranger makes today's Dean's List. Lisa Mealander and her family had been eating at the Eaton Park in Belle Vernon, Pennsylvania, when she noticed how her server was interacting with a senior patron. The server, Dylan Teetle, had dropped to one knee so he could give his full attention to the gentleman. Lisa wrote on Facebook, "The man apologized for not hearing well, and he talked about how he lost his hearing during the war. He was 91 years old with many stories to tell, and Dylan patiently listened, giving him his full attention. He also helped the man figure out a meal from the menu before putting the order into the kitchen." Lisa tried to flag Dylan down so she could offer to pay for the man's meal. Dylan said someone else had already taken care of the check. Before leaving her table, Lisa snapped pictures of Dylan chatting with the senior and published them to Facebook, where they have been since shared thousands of times. Thank you, Dylan, for your kindness, and Lisa for sharing this story with all of us. Janice Dean, Fox News.
Thousands of Bulldog fans have subscribed to the Thunder and Lightning podcast. Have you? On each episode, Brian Haydad and Joel Coleman give you an inside look at your Mississippi State Bulldogs. The Thunder and Lightning podcast is free and available on demand at supertalk.fm and on your smartphone. Just search for Thunder and Lightning on iTunes, Google Play, or anywhere you listen to podcasts. Thunder and Lightning from SuperTalk, Mississippi, covering the Bulldogs like no one else. Staying informed is a full-time job, even more so during an election year. That's why SuperTalk is here. With Fox News, News Mississippi, and the Super Talkers, you'll go inside the campaigns, and we'll separate what's real from what's not to bring you the latest information that matters. From now until you go into the voting booth on November 3rd, your election headquarters is Super Talk, Mississippi. Available on the Super Talk app and at supertalk.fm. From the Gallo Radio Show archives.
In the house, Mike Hurst.
When I started at the end of 2017, sadly, our office had gotten so low during the last administration. I think in FY16, we prosecuted 11 illegal immigration cases, 11, which is embarrassing. First year I was there, we had jumped almost 700% to 77 prosecutions. And, Paul, that number I think is going to increase very much more this year. We are continuing to see illegal immigration impact crime around the state. I'll give you a perfect example. About a month ago, we prosecuted an illegal alien who had brought 9 kilos of heroin and 1 kilo of fentanyl through our state. Now, to give your listeners an idea of what 2.2 pounds of fentanyl will do, that will wipe out 1 million people, Paul. That'll wipe out 1/3 of our state.
This has been another Gallo Radio Show audio archive.
You could be spreading the coronavirus without realizing you have it, so do your part and stay home. It's important to limit in-person interaction with anyone outside of your immediate household, but phone and video chat are safe ways to connect. It's also important to limit social gatherings. If you need essential items like food and medicine, try using a delivery service. If you must leave your house for essential items, or if you want to take a walk for exercise, make sure to wear a cloth face covering. Stay at least 6 feet away from other people. Try not to touch frequently touched surfaces like light signals, street signs, or benches. And wash your hands with soap and water for at least 20 seconds as often as possible. This advice applies to people of any age, including teens and younger adults. It takes all of us to slow the spread of the coronavirus, so stay home unless absolutely necessary. Visit coronavirus.gov for the latest information.
Feeling down? Here's your prescription for a daily dose of good news and positive vibes. Good Things with Rebecca Turner. Every afternoon, Rebecca highlights all the good things happening right here in the state you call home. Daily exposure to Good Things with Rebecca Turner may cause smiling, feelings of positivity, happiness, and even laughter. When you experience these symptoms, tell your friends to listen.
Okay.
Weekdays starting at 2 p.m. here on SuperTalk Mississippi, and now on Amazon Alexa devices.
The stay-at-home orders, the new state flag, the mask mandates, the protests and riots in many of our nation's cities, the battle for the White House. So far, 2020 has been a year like no other, and only one radio station has covered it all from a Mississippi point of view, SuperTalk Mississippi. And hang on, because who knows what 2020 will bring us next. Whatever it is, SuperTalk will be right here to deliver it to you live. Listen in all 82 counties statewide. SuperTalk Mississippi.
He's the former president and publisher of the Sun Herald, and now he's on the radio. Welcome to Coast View with Ricky Matthews on SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1.
Welcome back to Coast View. We're going to switch gears now. We're moving to my dear friend, Mark Henderson. Mark is, you know him from Lazy Magnolia that he and his wife have. We've talked to him. We've had an extended Coast View session with him as well, talking about his company, Log Linear Group, where they design sophisticated radar systems and communications equipment. He's just a really smart entrepreneur in Mississippi, and he's really good to check in with, just to kind of test his thinking. He's also deeply involved in the tourism effort here in coastal Mississippi. We'll cover a little bit of that as we go into the conversation. Anyway, welcome to the show, Mark.
Thanks for having me, Ricky.
Well, it's great to have you back. So update me. How, when we talked before, you had shifted gears at Lazy Magnolia, and you were into water and doing different kinds of things. What's the latest there?
Yeah, I mean, we're continuing to expand out into that realm, right? So we had, in March, we lost 60% of our business. Bars and restaurants closed down, and about 40% of our business, and this is true of most microbreweries, is draft. So you lose 100% of that. And of course, we have some bottle placements at those kinds of places. And so it all went away. And we're starting to see some of that start to come back. There's some bits and pieces of that. You're seeing people out and about more. Restaurants are beginning to really kind of understand what social distancing means. People are trying to understand what that means. And you got some places where people ignore all the rules and are just wide open. But we're seeing it start to come back. People are starting to get out a little bit. I think the governor showed up today and said 25% capacity in sporting events and venues.
Yeah.
That's potentially powerful. SEC now allows alcohol at sporting events. That's shocking.
Yeah.
But potentially some opportunities.
But you and I have talked about this before, but let's kind of take a step back for a second. One of the important things, and man, this has been a theme on this show, is that trends that were in existence before the pandemic just got sped up, particularly in technology, whether you're talking about healthcare or restaurants or education, it doesn't matter. Technology has really kind of changed things. But one of the trends that you had repeatedly discussed is that the whole business of microbrewing was changing. To what extent will that get sped up or actually create some opportunities for you?
So, yeah, I mean, So COVID is accelerated everything. We had lots of changes going on in the marketplace. I will tell you today that the juice box generation has arrived. So, and the generation behind us anyway, right, grew up on fruit punch and those kinds of things. And now all of a sudden, they're showing up in the drinking populace and they're going, we don't like beer flavored stuff. And so you see the seltzers coming online hard. You're seeing flavored waters coming in back into vogue. There's lots of opportunities there. I mean, the landscape's fundamentally changing. And if you're a beer guy, it's a little disconcerting, that's for sure. But and we're also seeing, with everybody staying at home, consumption patterns have changed pretty drastically as well. So when people are out and about, they choose drinks of moderation, typically beer, lower ABV stuff, things that can be consumed in higher quantities but still leave you functional. And when they're at home by themselves, right, they tend to hit things a little harder. And so wine and liquor stores, I mean, you've seen that. The State Warehouse is, they're showing trends that are 20%, 30% above normal. And, a lot of that's come out of the moderate choices that have been provided as well. It's coming out of our side. Yeah. You're also seeing technology really, really changing things hard right now.
So, yeah, I've talked to people who own liquor stores, and my goodness. And then, the ability to get products, but there's you guys are smart. You're good at looking at, reading these tea leaves and saying, okay, where is this thing headed? It will be very interesting to see over the course of, say, the next 6 months, what happens to Lazy Magnolia and how you guys are adjusting.
Yeah, I mean, just to touch on that, I mean, you talk about moving stuff around and products and how do we change. Coca-Cola is short 1 billion cans. That was the data I got 6 weeks ago. You cannot buy an empty can to save your life right now. And then 2 weeks ago, Sam Adams bought every bottle on the Eastern Seaboard. And so we go from going, all right, we can't get cans, but we've got diversity of product, right? We've seen the future. We know that we've got to be able to do different things. And yet here we are, we're short on bottles. I had to import bottles from Montreal, Canada, 2 weeks ago just to have bottles to work with. And you're just, I mean, the supply disruptions, it's very interesting to me is that, I mean, people are calling us and saying, we can't get you that on time. We can't get our suppliers. And it doesn't make sense. I don't understand. Trucking right now has turned into an absolutely crazy thing. We had loads sitting in warehouses for an extra 2 weeks because they can't find people to move them around. It's wild. But we've done some sodas recently. We've got a partner customer out of Connecticut who does presidential sodas every year. Wanted to scale that up, and so we're doing Trump Tonic and Biden Berry for Avery Soda out of Connecticut. And he calls back and says, "Look, man, we need another load." So we've staffed up. We've added people so that we can support the additional shifts.
Wow, that's so interesting. See, you just never know. You never know where that next opportunity is going to be, and what that opportunity will introduce you to going forward.
That's right. You just kind of got to go with it, right? And
you got to position yourself to hear that moment. Let the trajectory change you, however it's going to change you.
And it's hard, right? I mean, so as entrepreneurs, we build a business thinking that this is the business we're building, and then life hits, and you go, all right, well, that's not working, but we got all this stuff. What can we do with it? And so, so we've been doing sodas, we've been doing waters, we got a new flavored water project coming on. I mean, it's.
But see, none of this is new to you. I mean, you sort of faced it from the beginning because of your Katrina experience and opening the brewer within that context and all of that. You've had so many challenges there. But, as a design engineer and an inventor, a guy who holds multiple patents, as an artist, you have to be willing to turn on the dime. You have to take in this moment of inspiration, whatever it is, and be willing to respond to it. That's your life, isn't it?
I mean, it's let's be honest, right? There are times when you want to be able to lay down that cross, right? To drop that albatross and go, hey, look, God, I need a week off, that I don't have to be stupid creative to find a new way to get from here to where I got to go. But that's where we're at, right? I mean, that's what keeps you young. You got to stay on top of it. You got to have high energy all the time. And you just get dealt all these crazy things. You're like, all right, so what do I do this week? I have no cans. I got no bottles. I mean, that's our entire business is built around putting stuff in those containers.
It must be hard being a Renaissance man. So how has you've also got a big commitment to the community, but how has all of this shaped how your art is doing these days? I mean, has it affected your art?
Yeah. In a couple of different ways, right? So one, it is what I get to work on. So, I mean, right now I'm working much more on automation, and building new some robots and machines, because, we're dealing with just like you had the fire chief on, right? And he was talking about labor and people being out for, illness and all those kinds of things. You're like, what do I do? And so we continue to make, investments, and I've got a new robot I'm building to depalletize cans so that they'll go through machines and will free us up and allow us to put labor in more focused areas. I've got a little bit of art running around, but I haven't had the time to really dedicate to that. And that's the crazy thing about art, as opposed to engineering, is that when you're in an artistic mindset, you have to be willing to no longer be critical of yourself, and you have to be willing to devote an immense amount of time. Engineers are always critical of themselves, and if you talk to an engineer, it doesn't take long for you to go, man, you are down.
Yeah.
But engineers have to know every problem before it happens, because otherwise people die. And artists have to be not critical so that they can let that part of their brain turn on, and you can see the amazing things that are dwelling just under the surface.
Well, that's what was always fascinating about you, and we got into this in our Coast View session together. But you've got a lot of right brain and a lot of left brain in you. So you're sort of this walking dichotomy. You're just like this standing conflict, just waiting to happen, and you're having to resolve that, I would imagine, constantly.
What I've learned is that you got to put one hat on and you got to put another hat on, right? And you cannot resolve that conflict internally at any given moment in time. You have to resolve it with balance. So you can be the technical person and the very critical person, and then you have to put that down. You have to put the artistic person and be very positive and focus on the good things, right? And you can't do it simultaneously.
It's interesting to watch, and you're quite an inspiration, because you've really proven over and over again throughout your life this ability to dig deep, to be resilient, to overcome the odds. So this is Mark Henderson. He's a coast entrepreneur, a co-owner with his wife, the Lazy Magnolia Brewery. He has a company called Log Linear Group. They do sophisticated radar and communications equipment. When we come back, I want to talk about the tourism effort and just misinformation. You and I have talked about this before, but we'll go back there for just a few minutes. See you after this break.
Follow SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1 on Facebook. Facebook.com/SuperTalk MS Coast 103.1.
Feeling down? Here's your prescription for a daily dose of good news and positive vibes. Good Things with Rebecca Turner. Every afternoon, Rebecca highlights all the good things happening right here in the state you call home. Daily exposure to Good Things with Rebecca Turner may cause smiling, feelings of positivity, happiness, and even laughter. When you experience these symptoms, tell your friends to listen. Okay. Weekdays starting at 2 p.m. here on SuperTalk Mississippi, and now on Amazon Alexa devices.
Hey, I'm Steve Azar, and you never know who or what you'll hear when I spend a Mississippi Minute with my friends. Talking to Paul Thorne, Mississippi true treasure, really incredible recording artist, singer, songwriter, has been doing it a long time, doing it the right way.
It's almost like a Forrest Gump thing, because I was a boxer, / I worked in a furniture factory, / I had a gig 2 nights a week playing my acoustic guitar in a pizza restaurant, / I was in the National Guard, and all this stuff was going on at the same time, / I had a writing contract with Rick Hall and Fame.
In a Mississippi Minute, Be sure to check out In a Mississippi Minute with me, Steve Azar, right here on SuperTalk Mississippi, the SuperTalk Mississippi app, and now available on iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher.
We know that we're asking Americans to do a lot right now. So we're asking everyone to be selfless for others so that we can protect those who are most susceptible to this virus.
A question I often get asked is, why should young people care about the spread of coronavirus? Well, we know that people with underlying medical conditions over the age of 60 are at highest risk, but they've got to get it from somebody.
Social distancing is really physical separation of people.
It's what we refer to when we ask people to stay at least 6 feet apart.
Not going to bars, not going to restaurants, not going to theaters where there are a lot of people. It all just means physical separation so that you have a space between you and others who might actually be infected or infect you.
We all have a role to play in preventing person-to-person spread of this disease, which can be deadly for vulnerable groups. For more information on how you can social distance, please go to coronavirus.gov.
What decisions are being made by state lawmakers, and how will they affect you, your family, and community? If you listen, you'll know. SuperTalk Mississippi, the SuperTalk app, and at supertalk.fl.
Hi, I'm Billy Kinder, host of Big Billy Kinder Outdoors here, the show Saturdays at 1, right here on SuperTalk Mississippi. Turkeys, whitetail, Grenada Lake crappie, or Gulfport redfish. We enjoy it all, especially when you're in camp with us on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Get out of the house and over to Big Play today. 2 massive arcades, bowling, go-karts, 2 mini golf courses, a 2-story state-of-the-art laser tag arena, bumper cars, and right now get a $50 game card for only $25. Visit our station's Facebook and print on demand so you can play at Big Play Entertainment Center now. These deals won't last long, so make sure you get your half-off deal. Big Play Entertainment Center, Highway 90 Biloxi. Bowl, play, eat. Go to our station's Facebook to get your half-off deal now. Hey, want to come work for the #1 radio group on the coast? TeleSouth Media has a great opportunity for an outside sales consultant. Get paid while having fun and work in the exciting, fast-paced world of radio. We have award-winning stations like 97.9 CPR Rocks, 105.9 The Monkey, G96.7, SuperTalk 103.1, and 103.5 The Possum. Take the first step towards a new and rewarding career. Submit your resume to Jesse at telesouth.com. That's JESSE at telesouth.com. TeleSouth Media is an equal employment opportunity employer.
Talking to the people that help make the coast such a unique place to live. This is Coast View with Ricky Matthews on SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1.
Welcome back to Coast View. We have Mark Henderson, a longtime entrepreneur, just a really talented and smart guy. Just enjoy having this conversation with him. Mark, one of the things we were talking about offline is this show has been a gift to me personally. It's been an opportunity for me to get to know people that I always knew them, but I didn't really know anything about them. And now I'm able to actually get to know the people behind the public face. And I've really enjoyed that. And I hope other people have enjoyed getting to know people like you, because it's just a great opportunity I have to reveal you to the world.
I mean, you've given us all that ability, right? I mean, you're talking to all the people that we all want to go have lunch with, go have a beer with, right? And I've been envious of you, but you've been sharing it with everybody. And that's a great thing about the technology today, right? You can put it out there and for everybody to enjoy.
Yeah, so somebody told one of the key people when they were trying to discuss, do this show, Ricky, we'd like you to do this show. It took me about 4.5 months to decide I was going to do it. But they said, look, here's what we want you to do. You can design it however you want to do it, but think of it as sitting at the dinner table and just having a conversation with someone. And when you think about it like that, then it makes it a lot easier to get your head around. Yep. And I have always enjoyed doing that anyway. So it's just kind of fun. So you're involved in a tourism effort, and one of the real gifts that I have had the opportunity to do is get to know Milton Segura better, who is the executive director for Coastal Mississippi Tourism. You serve on the board. He's been on the show, I don't know, 6-7 different times. He, from the very beginning, understood that we had to position ourselves as a safe place to visit, with 80% of the people before the pandemic driving here. It was going to create a real opportunity for us. But, you guys, under his leadership and with your leadership of him, you guys sort of got this right off the bat, didn't you?
No, it was amazing how quickly that hit, right? Milton did a great job. I mean, he instantly said, hey, look, we're going to lose all of our revenue. We put together budgets and plans based on worst case outcomes. And we've been very, very lucky, very fortunate. We've been in the right place at the right time. I mean, South Mississippi is this great place where we have all of this amazing outdoors, where we are already effectively social distanced. And so we see, I mean, tourism has not taken the hit that we thought it would because we're there. And then we've also done a great job, our community's done a great job of embracing, what's needed in order to reopen, mask and social distancing and sanitizing and all of those things. And you see it. And we've done a great job. Milton's done a great job of leading that effort, getting that message out, communicating with people very clearly about what it's going to take. And we've executed, and it's done well.
Yeah, and you've got a great board. It's just, when you look at person to person, they all bring a unique perspective to the table. They're all experienced. They all have a passion for coastal Mississippi. We're lucky to have the leaders that we have in place right now around tourism because it has really made a difference. And it's made a difference within the world that you and I have talked about before, where there's so much misinformation, Mark. I mean, it drives. We live in this divided, polarized world, the politicization of America because of the presidential election and all the stuff swirling around that. When most of us live in the middle, it's crazy to think that the outside polarized lines are defining us, and add into that the misinformation. Gosh, this has been a difficult thing to manage as it relates to COVID.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy to me. I mean, there's really only one party that benefits from the misinformation that's going around, right? And it's people outside the United States. I mean, it's China and Russia. And if people have brought me all kinds of crazy conspiracy theories about, don't you think this or this is all fake? And I'm like, no, I don't. That's exactly what the Chinese want you to think. And if you want to believe in a conspiracy theory, that's it. Get together, put our minds to it, and we can win.
You said to me once on a show, and I've quoted you many times, that too many people wait for the canned thought to arrive every morning, and then they through social media, I might add, and then they know what to think today. I wish more people would do their own homework. I mean, if they would just have a Snoops link and just do fact checking, just with Snoops, it would make all the difference in the world. But the problem is they don't necessarily want to hear the truth. If that piece of information seems like a fact and supports their point of view, then they just run with it and they share it with all their friends, and then their friends comment about it. And man, we live in a crazy world.
It's easy to vilify somebody and then not engage in the conversation. It's very difficult to have a conversation with somebody, right, and then vilify them. And so if you can simply polarize that conversation and go, hey, look, you don't need to listen to their opinion because they don't count, then it's easy to run down your own rabbit hole and ignore them. Instead, it's conversation.
I had a conversation with a friend of mine yesterday. We texted back and forth. He hasn't been on social media very long. And he essentially said, I had no idea that vitriol was in their fingers. That's the way he said it. I thought that was pretty good. That was pretty good. But you know what? I know this for a fact. We hear those dividing lines, but I do know that most of us are in the middle, and we want peace. We want racial justice. We want the world's problems to be solved. We know that the tools to fight COVID haven't changed since the very beginning. We know all those things. But I'm thankful that at least in the leadership of coastal Mississippi, we have people who get those facts.
Yep.
And it's really helping us, particularly on the tourism side. It's really helping us. Hey, we're out of time, Mark. I wish we had more time together. But the next time, we're going to spend more time together next time, because it's always fun talking to you, because you're so smart, and you're just a fun guy to have a conversation with. So thank you for joining me.
Thanks for having me. Always a pleasure.
Okay, buddy. Take care and have a great day.